Welcome to the BYP Responds videos. This video I want to respond to is about a 2,500-year-old biblical scroll that was found and what it tells us about Jesus. Now, the title is somewhat clickbaitish. The idea here is very interesting. It's yet another angle, as it were, to try to give a verification to some of the old prophecies to Jesus Christ. This old biblical manuscript is 1,000 years older than our oldest Hebrew manuscript, the Masoretic text. So what are we talking about? Let me share my screen and I will share this with you. It's pretty exciting. It's very interesting. Let's see what's happening here.
Of intense discussion among theologians and historians. The Isaiah Scroll, a 2,200-year-old proof of Jesus as the Messiah. So, what did this 2,200-year-old scroll reveal about Jesus that shocked everyone?
Okay, so this is the kind of clickbaitish material. Shocked everyone. It didn't shock everyone because the Dead Sea Scroll Isaiah is, for the vast most part, our book of Isaiah in the Bible that we have right now. The value of the Isaiah scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls is not in it presenting new information about Jesus or any kind of a new prophecy, etc. It is our book of Isaiah. Now, the electrifying and really exciting thing is it is the complete text of Isaiah, which is really cool. Most of the 900 or so fragments in the Dead Sea Scrolls are fragments, bits and pieces, no bigger than the palm of your hand. Really, literally, they're no bigger than this little deal. You can fit it in the palm of your hand. That's the size of many of the scraps. This is the full scroll. As you unroll it, the entire book. So by fortuitousness, it was preserved very, very well. The jar lasted through the 2,000 years that it was hidden up in those Qumran caves. Thank goodness. And of course, there's going to be variations, variants, differences in spelling, etc. The different types of handwriting are extremely interesting to see on it. What this particular video is demonstrating with this 2,500-year-old scroll, now, they're not sensationalizing it. It of itself is very sensational. And we somewhat have forgot about that, of how sensational this is. The scrolls kind of come, excuse me, they come and go in popularity. What they're dealing with is the servant songs in the book of Isaiah as these prophecies that they are talking about that so shocked everyone. The nice thing is with this Dead Sea Scroll Isaiah is they are the same servant songs that is in the Masoretic text. So on the one hand, we have really superb evidence that the Jews were quite careful to preserve their scriptures as best they could. We also incidentally now know that Isaiah was considered one of the more important prophets. Interestingly enough, so was Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, which is essentially what they call the leptogenesis, the little Genesis. It's I'll say a midrash, it's a commentary. It's a style of interpretation of Genesis, of the creation, of the various experiences of the biblical patriarchs, etc. While Enoch is a completely different animal altogether, it is in the apocalyptic genre as well. So not only biblical materials, but non-biblical materials were also in together in this cave in these jars. It's almost as if it was an eclectic library of ancient Jewish wisdom and teachings that these Dead Sea Scrolls were a big part of. Mike Golb showed how these scrolls very well could have come from the temple in Jerusalem, from the temple library. We know Qumran separated itself from the main body of the Jews because, like the Book of Enoch, they considered the prevailing prominent powerhouse Jews who were in charge of this second temple built after the Babylonian destruction, that they were an apostate generation. And they did not believe they had the true priesthood. They certainly did not have the true temple rights. And so they separated themselves, awaiting for the day of wrath, when the Messiah would come and restore glory to Israel, because during the Second Temple period, man, the Jews just went from slavery to one nation to another, to another, to another. They had ever brief moments of independence, only to be quashed down again, eventually being ruled by the mightiest of the empires, the Romans, and which the apocalyptic book of Daniel is said to have also prophesied. And so this is a remarkable document in and of itself. This idea that these prophecies startled scholars, well, they still do. We understand, and it is worth recognizing that the Jews do not interpret the servant songs of Isaiah the same way that the Christians do. There is a very large difference in that the Jews, on the one hand, they will interpret the servant of Yahweh in the servant songs. I believe it's Isaiah 48. There's 4 different songs. Some say 5, but I think there's 4. Isaiah 48. 52 is one. 53 is the big one. And then I can't remember the 4th one right off the top of my head. It's been a little while since I've studied the servant songs, but I am going to as I make my way through the Hebrew Old Testament in the up and coming year. But the Jews will interpret this servant as the entire nation of Israel. And the Christians will say, no, there is a specific individual who is the servant of Yahweh. Interestingly, in some of these songs, the interpretation that the servant is the chosen nation of Israel is not wrong. The context in some of the other songs really does show that Israel is the chosen servant for the other nations. And in some of the songs, it is also an individual, and that can be accurately interpreted as well. So it's a remarkable discussion. It's generated a lot of heat through the centuries. It's generated a lot of light. The nice thing that the Dead Sea Scroll Isaiah did for us all, regardless of your religious predilection and faith or desire to be whatever religion you are, this Dead Sea Scroll Isaiah has shown that Isaiah as a book had more or less stabilized. Now, there's the scholarly consensus, I will say, indicate that there is first the original Isaiah author, and then there was a second Isaiah, what they term a second Isaiah, based on writing styles, choice of vocabulary, sometimes the subject, etc. And there is even a potential third and fourth Isaiah. These later second, third, and fourth Isaiah characters are considered to have been the disciples of Isaiah. So it's interesting that even this had stabilized so that we have, by the Dead Sea Scrolls time, And the dating, say 200 to 50 BC, roughly. That's why they say it's approximately 1,000, 1,200 years older than the existing Masoretic text, which put the vowels into the consonants. The Masoretes felt like they did not want Hebrew to completely disappear, and they wanted to remember how to read it and pronounce it and to share it. So they went through and vocalized everything with vowels. And there's various different types of vowel points that you learn when you study the language. But the chapters are pretty much the same. The length is pretty much the same. All of these subjects treated in Isaiah in the Masoretic text are also those chapters and subjects treated in the Dead Sea Scroll Isaiah. So it had stabilized by, say, 200 BC, which is a huge help for us as well as we approach it from a textual critic point of view, etc. We get to compare the different manuscripts, size up the various different families of manuscripts, see who said what and how, etc. There is no new prophecy in this Dead Sea Scroll Isaiah concerning Jesus. Jesus Christ himself is not specifically named in this earliest of Isaiah manuscripts discovered with the Dead Sea Scrolls as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. We don't have the exact name. The prophecies are pretty much the same. And so this is what this website is playing upon. As it is a tremendous offering for us as we begin to see the importance of the prophecies, the importance of the history of which Isaiah lived through. Now, he was way back there. He was before the Babylonian destruction, before the Assyrian destruction, and he was prophesying about that issue as well. So a lot of interesting materials. So it's nice as a refresher for the Dead Sea Scrolls. And to get one of the best popularized texts, and I say popularized advisedly, is Geza Vermes, The Complete Dead Sea Scrolls. That is a very good translation. Florentino Garcia is also, or Garcia Florentino is also another very good translation. There's a lot of different types of analysis with the scrolls. So anyway, so the good news is this 25-year-old biblical manuscript does have prophecies of Jesus if you're interpreting it as a Christian. The bad news is, no, there are not any new different prophecies. No, this does not prove Jesus Christ, nor does this most of the ancient scrolls of Isaiah name Jesus Christ specifically, but it still is an absolutely remarkable time that we live in, receiving all of these ancient, fabulous textual manuscripts that we can study and improve our knowledge, improve our faith, enlarge our spirituality, hopefully, and come away as better people, keeping the great commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor. He wasn't kidding. It's time to love your neighbor as yourself. This is a great timely reminder of that. Thanks for watching my Backyard Professor Responds. I'll be back with more.